In our last session, a Real Love Institute member asked this question.
Dear Greg, I have a hard time being around other people. I get really nervous, and I think it's because I don't have much self-esteem. My friends and even a counselor have told me that what I need is to love myself more. I'm trying to, but it's not making much difference. How can I learn to love myself?
In our last session, I suggested that the term self-esteem is probably inappropriate, since our concept of worth, our understanding of the entire world really, is a result of the judgments we saw in our parents and other people who were very important to us in our childhood. When our parents taught us that we had to earn love, for example, we had little choice but to believe them. Unfortunately, very few of us have ever seen a consistent pattern of real love. And without that, we have become empty and afraid. And our lives have become dominated by the terrible effects of getting and protecting behaviors. In your case, these behaviors have mostly taken the form of running. You get nervous around people and tend to avoid them. Your friends have suggested that you need to love yourself more. But how is that possible? How can you give yourself what you've never received? When people haven't gotten real love all their lives, frankly, it's cruel to tell them to love themselves. Love themselves with what? Imagine that you're starving to death in the middle of the desert, and I drive by in my Humvee. After I hear your story, I suggest that you just feed yourself. Well, what kind of sense would that make? None. If you could feed yourself, you would have. You're starving precisely because you can't feed yourself. You need food from people who have it. And that is the case with the love in your life too. You have already proven with the way you feel and the way you behave that you don't have enough real love. And now you need it from people who have it. How in the world would you give it to yourself if you don't have it to begin with? Over the years, many people have come to me with the question you asked. They have tried to follow the advice of friends and books and counselors to love themselves, but it just hasn't worked. And the more they've tried, the more frustrated they've become. It's important to understand the problems associated with loving ourselves, because people get that advice all the time, and then when it doesn't work out, it causes so much frustration. I suggest that the recommendation to love ourselves is popular in self-help books and elsewhere only because most of us have experienced so much disappointment and pain as we've tried to find love from other people. The idea of loving ourselves became popular because it's safer. Getting love from other people hasn't worked, so let's love ourselves. And then at least other people can't let us down. The problem is that loving ourselves just doesn't work. Remember that when we were children, our parents and other prominent adults weren't just God-like. They were God, at least to us. When they told us, mostly with their behavior, that when we made mistakes, something was wrong with us, we didn't question that. We believed them. And we still believe what we were told by those people long ago. So, after being told on literally thousands of occasions that you are flawed by these gods in your life, you can't suddenly love yourself now. Because after all those thousands of times of hearing that you're not acceptable, you really believe it. You've been presented with far too much evidence to suddenly disbelieve it. If you're going to change how you believe, you're going to need help. You're going to need new evidence that you are worth loving unconditionally. And you need that evidence from other people, from people who can genuinely accept you. So, how do you find these people? More about that in our next session.